Okay, in this segment, what I'd like to do is quickly run through some of the articles that we're using as sources, some of the different pieces that I've read to put together this whole idea, this whole theory on why we're going into Syria. The first article I'd like to start with is Saudi Arabia plans to fund Syria rebel army. So obviously we see that Saudi Arabia is putting up the money for the regime change to overthrow Assad, and obviously by funding this rebel faction, they plan on getting their returns when that faction is then put into power. Next article is Saudi Arabia backs Syria strikes, boosting White House case. So, I mean, this is kind of a skewed article. Huffington Post put it out. Can we say that it boosts the White House case just because Saudi Arabia backs the strike? Are they going to come out and give us this? Well, Saudi Arabia must have intelligence to show that if Saudi Arabia believes that Assad used the chemical weapons, then probably Assad used the chemical weapons. No. Based on the information that we're seeing, of course Saudi Arabia would back the Syria strikes, and it doesn't necessarily boost the White House case. It would, to me, say that the White House needs to look into the motives behind Saudi Arabia backing the Syria strike, and that being the offshore oil and the fact that they're funding the rebel regime that will then take over once Assad is taken out. So, of course, Saudi Arabia is going to back the White House's plan to go in. Then you have the Saudis offering Russia a secret oil deal if it drops Syria. This is interesting. Saudi Arabia, it wasn't just an oil deal. They actually offered a considerable arms deal as well, where Saudi Arabia was going to purchase arms from Russia in exchange for them getting out of Syria, as well as giving them great prices on oil. Now, the thing with this article here is that Russia then turned around. Russia's answer to this was that if Syria is attacked, Russia will then turn around and attack Saudi Arabia. They won't, as well as defending Syria, they will go after Saudi Arabia because they know, Russia knows that it's Saudi Arabia that's putting all this propaganda out there to take over the regime there and to get credits on the gas exploration off the coast. So this next article is probably the best article I've read online about this whole idea. And it says, Syria intervention plan fueled by oil interests, not chemical weapon concern. This gentleman here did an amazing job with his research. He's the one who, in this article, he links Saudi Arabia to Al Nusra, which I've seen in several other articles as well. But Al Nusra being Al Qaeda, the other faction of the Muslim Brotherhood being funded by Qatar and their interest in running the pipeline all the way up to the Nabucco pipeline. So an excellent article. I would definitely say, the link is going to be down below. Click on it, read it. Amazing work. This next article comes out of WorldNet Daily, and WorldNet Daily says, this is Joseph Farah. Joseph Farah says, in this article he talks about Syria's deals with Russia. And what I didn't really talk about was Russia's other interest in Syria, which is the fact that they own, I believe it's 75% of Syria's energy infrastructure. So Gazprom actually has a significant stake invested over in Syria as well. So of course they would want to protect that. This is just a picture that I found. It's been circulating around. This is John Kerry, who is very much for going in and taking out Assad. But this is Kerry and his wife having dinner with Assad and his wife. This was a few years ago. And the thing about this is, what I'm wondering is this about the time that Qatar was maybe asking to run their pipelines through, and maybe John Kerry was sent over there to attempt to talk him into bringing these pipelines through Syria. And Assad, we know Assad turned down the pipeline deal, which now we're, if we're going into Syria for that reason, then this is a pretty significant picture. But here we go into the BBC news coming out of the Middle East. UN's Del Ponte says evidence Syria rebels used sarin. So again, the BBC talking about a lot of the evidence and how it's pointing to actually the rebels and not to Assad using the chemical weapons or the sarin gas, which is very significant, especially for the White House when they're considering going in and bombing a country that may not even be responsible for what they're referring to. What they may want to do is look into the people that they're supporting and make sure that they're not the ones that are using these chemical weapons. But then again, our government is paying for chemical weapons training via contractors, subcontractors, whether it's Z Services or some of these other mercenary companies and contractors that go over, and without actually having to put boots on the ground, we can send in these contractors to do it for us. And that's what a lot of our government tries to do, and make it seem as if it's not what we're actually doing. So they can say that we're not putting boots on the ground, but in reality, we're paying these contractors that are not part of our, technically not part of our military, to go in and do the work for us. This is a caption to show how much dependence a lot of these countries in Europe have on Russian gas. And you can see there are several countries that are 100% dependent, and then it goes all the way down to, like, say, Belgium and France. France, who has their own natural gas company called Total, only 14%, 5% for Belgium. But you got Greece, which is 76%, Germany, which is the economic powerhouse over there, which is at about 36%. But actually a great tool here, and we'll put the links in there for you as well. Also, we're going to be loading these pictures, all these pictures, up to our Facebook accounts as well as Instagram. So check us out on there as well. Let's see, what do we got here? This is all the gas pipelines coming out of Russia, and how they make their ways all through Europe. This next one here is the red line that you see is the Nabucco pipeline, with it going up into Georgia. It actually stops over here, but it goes up into Georgia and into Azerbaijan, and it was supposed to hook into Azerbaijan, and the gas was supposed to come from Azerbaijan to deliver it to Europe via this pipeline. The blue pipeline is the pipeline that is proposed to go from Iran. This actually isn't a proposal anymore. This is actually in the works. It's already being built, going from Iran through northern Iraq over into Syria to connect into the Pan-Arabian pipeline. The purple pipeline is the pipeline proposed by Qatar, which comes from Qatar, runs through Saudi Arabia, up through Jordan, Iraq, and Damascus. It goes straight to Damascus and Homs in Syria. connecting into the Pan-Arabian pipeline coming out of Egypt, which is the Green Pipeline. The Green Pipeline coming out of Egypt, going around Israel, coming up through Jordan, and into Syria, feeding gas also to Lebanon and to Israel. That is until Israel finishes exploring all the gas reserves just found off the coast of Israel, Lebanon, and Syria. So now we come to the next article. U.S. threatens Pakistan with sanctions over Iran gas. This is what we were talking about the sanctions that we put on Iran were all over weapons of mass destruction, and yet here we're attempting to put these same sanctions on Pakistan, which Pakistan supposedly our ally. We were told they were our allies after 9/11, and here we're threatening sanctions on Pakistan because they're going to run Iranian gas through a pipeline through their country to deliver it over to another pipeline over in India to be able to deliver Iranian gas all the way out to China, creating once again a blockade and holding Russian dominance over the entire continent, stretching through two continents, Europe and Asia. Here is an article talking about Turkey finding sarin gas in the homes of suspected Syrian Islamists, and this was a raid that was done. 12 members of al-Nusra were arrested, al-Nusra being part of al-Qaeda, and they found 2 canisters of sarin gas in the home when they went in and arrested these men. Here is the quote from Joe Biden during a 2008 U.S. Senate hearing on Russian energy, where he says, we need diplomacy to forge a common strategy among energy-consuming countries in Europe, a shared effort to confront Russian dominance. Here he is actually saying that we have to challenge Russia in the energy domain in Europe and give Europe competition for their gas, which is what we're doing with Syria. The next article I have here, Syria chemical weapons attack not ordered by Assad, says German press. The Germans over there, they put out that one of their spy ships actually intercepted a lot of calls and conversations from Assad to his generals, specifically in regards to chemical weapons, with Assad saying for no reason whatsoever are they to use any types of chemical weapons. So very interesting stuff coming out of Germany, speaking for Russia, not against what they're having to say about the scenario that's transpiring over there. This we've already seen. I don't know why I have a double in here. In this one here, we have Iran reportedly preparing to send 4,000 troops into Syria. And this is phenomenal. They're obviously putting troops to it with Iran's troops that they're sending, Russia's troops that they're sending. Now it's reported that China is sending troops over there. So there's a very large coalition of troops that are supporting the Syrian regime. So now we come to Israeli intelligence intercepted Syrian regime talk about chemical attack. So the other place that the White House is getting its intelligence, Saudi Arabia and Israel. And we know Israel stands to gain because they want to explore and keep all the gas off of their coast to themselves. If they can in any way strike up a deal to make it so that they own all the rights to all the gas that is found off the coastline there. They're definitely interested in getting rid of the Assad regime, who Assad will go and explore those regions with his own regime and stake claim to what is rightfully Syria's. Here we have Radio Free Europe. this is one of Russia's key allies here in the Eurasian Union Economic Region. It's Kazakhstan, and they announced a $30 billion deal with China. And of course, this is China wanting to triple the production, triple the amount of gas that they're receiving from Kazakhstan. So Kazakhstan being a strategic ally with Russia, and Russia, this is almost like a backdoor deal with China. So now we come to a quote by Barack Obama. It says, "We have been very clear to the Assad regime, but also to other players on the ground, that a red line for us is we start seeing a whole bunch of chemical weapons moving around or being utilized. That would change my equation." So this here is Barack Obama's remarks to reporters when he's asked about military intervention in Syria, and this was over a year ago. So here, this is him stating, hey, this is the red line. If this is crossed, then we're going to come bomb you. So obviously, if you're Assad, you don't want to use any type of chemical weapons or anything like that. Okay, on to the next article. We have Syrian rebels try to get reporters to kill anti-Assad propaganda bid. Reporter killed in anti-Assad propaganda bid. Okay, so this article here was talking about some reporters that were in the area that were given false directions and placed in the area that these guys sent them to was an area that they knew the reporters would be fired on by the Assad military, thinking that they were rebels. So if these reporters went into that area and were shot and killed by Assad's army, they would then turn around and use that on the international level as voting that Assad is killing reporters. So this was something that went badly wrong for them, the rebels, and what they were trying to do with the reporters over there. So here we have Russia and China finally find a compromise on gas deal after 15-year standoff, and this was sometime this week. So I'm thinking China is being very cautious in what they're doing, making sure that they can get in to the prices while the prices are still low, just in case Syria is attacked. And Russia would have no choice but to increase the price to attempt to make up for any lost revenues that they might be receiving. And that would then obviously drive up the price of oil, which will then drive up the price of gas. So now we have the Chicago Tribune. And this is just talking about the boats or boat that Russia has sent over there. Not necessarily claiming that this boat would be involved in the war, but I think it's funny that they happened to send it over at this particular time. So, and it is a missile cruiser. Here is NBC reporting on Russia sending troops to Syria as peace hopes fade. Obviously, Russia is going to stack the ground over there and make sure that those rebels cannot, number one, get a hold of any of the chemical weapons sites, even though the United States has been training them. And actually, its contractors have been training them for that particular thing, what to do when they go in there and then take over these chemical weapons facilities. Here is, now this article was phenomenal. Here is Syrian rebels aim to use chemical weapons and blame it on Damascus, and the date on this was from June 10th, 2012. So over a year before the chemical attack over in the suburbs of Damascus. This Syrian rebels aim to use chemical weapons and blame Damascus. They're going to blame the Assad regime, and they said that over a year ago. In this report, they were claiming to have chemical weapons that they seized, that Saudi Arabia seized when they went in and took out the Libyan regime. So apparently these chemical weapons came from Libya, according to this article. Here is The Blaze reporting that Russia delivered in, and I got this from all over the internet. I just thought The Blaze was a pretty interesting source on this particular information. But Russia delivers a 100-page report to UN saying Syrian rebels behind Sarin Gas attack in March. So again, we have the Syrian rebels being linked to this gas attack, and Russia delivers a 100-page report to the UN to show them why not to invade Syria, why they shouldn't allow Syria to be invaded. Our next article, Syria, the Saudi connection, the prince with close ties to Washington at the heart of the push for war. So this is just some background information on the prince over there having influence over the last 5 presidents, and some of the decisions that they've made with intelligence information coming out of Saudi Arabia. And some of the things that I find to be funny, in one of the articles I was reading on when Saudi Arabia had offered a deal with Russia to back out of Syria, one of the odd things that was footnoted in that article was it wasn't just the arms deals or the oil deals, but in particular it was protection at the Olympic Games there. And in Chechnya specifically, Saudi Arabia brought up the rebels that are in Chechnya and claimed that they could remove the rebels because they're the ones that are supporting those rebels. They're the financial support for those rebels. And I thought it was really odd, considering the Boston Marathon bombings, where these kids, one of the kids, supposedly they're from the outskirts of Chechnya, from a Muslim faction over there that was very militant, and then they come over here and they perform this heinous act on U.S. soil. I just find it odd that in this particular article that I was reading, Saudi Arabia takes claim to being the funding for that particular faction in Chechnya. So there is this roundabout link, not that I'm going to go there right now, but it is very odd. Now, here is an article with Saudi Arabia. This is exactly what I was just talking about. Saudi Arabia tries to woo Russia away from Syria arms deal, and this is out of Israel, and they get into a lot of the details of the deal and exactly what I was just explaining to you, how they want Russia to pull out and all of the different things that they're trying to offer them. Now here, this is very interesting. CIA to arm train Syria rebels. Hagel says U.S. jets, missiles brought to Jordan will stay. And it's not just that they're arming them and training them. It's specifically on what they're training them for. And don't you know, one of the things that they're training them for is chemical weapons. It is, and it's not that U.S. troops can do that, because they can't. So what they're doing is they're paying, like I said, they're paying these subcontracted companies like Z Services to do the bidding for them. And for any of you that don't know, Z Services is formerly known as Blackwater. I'm going to end with this article here. And its sources say U.S. helping to underwrite Syrian rebel training on securing chemical weapons. This article gets into details on just how much training the U.S. can offer, and then how much training their contractors are offering for this for this particular type of training with securing the chemical weapons areas, the chemical weapons facilities within Syria after the Assad regime is bombed. So here we are with a list of all our sources. This is part 2. I hope you enjoy, and I really, really, really hope you go in and read all of these articles and spread the word. Pass this around. Pass around the first part of this, and tell them to come and look at what it is that we've put together on this. Because if at all, it's obviously very interesting, and to me, it appears as if we're witnessing probably one of the biggest plays in our history for dominance in this emerging natural gas market that is extending from the west coast of Europe over to the east coast of China. So if this makes sense to you, obviously come on over. Don't forget to sign up on the Seed of Truth Network and get a profile over on seedoftruth.me. Make sure you read our info page, find out what we're about, and a couple of the other things. One thing in particular I'd like to mention is a piece of biblical prophecy, and this prophecy will be included in the notes down below as well. But I find it very odd that biblical prophecy says that in the end times, when the days are near, Damascus of all cities, Damascus will be completely obliterated. It will be destroyed. There will be nothing left, and it will be unlivable. Are we in that time? Are we about to witness this prophecy fulfilled? For those of you who have interest in interpretations of biblical prophecies, obviously come check us out, because we got a lot of stuff on the site dealing with that as well. But just more food for thought, and if you have not looked into this prophecies fulfilled, you definitely want to check it out. It's very interesting. There's a lot of stuff going on right now that appears to play into what is written in this book that was written thousands of years ago. Some of the books written 2,000 years ago, some of them written 3,000, 4,000 years ago, but definitely worth checking out. Again, thank you for watching, and I hope to see you on the Seed of Truth Network. Don't forget to share this and like us on Facebook. Thank you very much.